Right, so another powered snare trap. Now I wouldn't necessarily say this one is a leg snare or whatever. It could be used for whatever, depending on how you set it up and what animal you were trying to catch. But what I'd basically done was I was thinking about making a box snare, and I'd looked in Camp Life in the Woods and the Tricks of Trapping and Trap Making book. I was looking at the box snare, thinking about making one, using one of the garden rake tines for the spring, and then I noticed some old spring traps in there. So this is basically a version of one of those spring traps in there, but in that the spring is a bent stick, this part is a bent like twig, and the rest of it is twigs and string, whatever. Now I was originally going to make this out of just one piece of metal, so have a long spring, bend that part of the spring, bring the bottom piece along, and then just do another loop here. But the problem is it would never stand up unless you had some sort of platform underneath. So I thought, if it's got to have a platform, I might as well just build it on a piece of wood anyway. You'd either have to build the other one, you either have to build it on a platform or weld something on the bottom, like plates or rods going out sideways. Otherwise it would never stand up. It would just be like that, but with another piece coming over there. Yeah, so it's basically a spring, like a normal spring trap. So you've got a noose, a small toggle there. That's made out of aluminium. That's the noose. This part here, I've just tied it at the bottom there, but that is what you would either stake to the ground or whatever. So that would be a continuation of the snare. Tie that off, otherwise the animal would just run off with the entire thing. And I've done this so you could use different types of trigger as well. Use any trigger you want, and it's possibly you could set this up other ways as well. But it's just, like a common one. You just pull this down, put that underneath there, and you just wedge a stick in there. You could do that as kind of loose or as hard as you want. The further down it is, the more likely it is to go off easily. And then you just get your snare. This is just string on this one. I think this is 220 cub cord or micro paracord. Then you would just lay your snare over there, whatever. And if it was, say, buried in the ground in the run of an animal, or bird seeding that around, a pheasant might stand in it or something like that. Now it goes off very fast. Now it doesn't lift the animal off the floor. So it's not like an actual spring snare that lifts, but it's more like a snare thrower. So it would throw it onto the leg or the part. But that gets that good, and then it's caught guaranteed. So I'll show you what we've got here. So the garden rake tine spring, it's just bent round once, I suppose. I loop that end and I loop this end with a bolt through it, and then I put a bit of wire as well to hold it further back, because it was lifting up quite high. It was coming off, like the base. So that's just a piece of wire bent round, and then this end is just a thick piece of fencing wire pushed through two drilled holes, and then the end's bent over, put in a vise and just squashed up. So really, really simple. And this part is just a small piece of aluminium with a hole drilled in the middle, knot in the end of the string, and then the rest is just string. You could use, metal cable, whatever. There's all sorts of different triggers you can use. with a short one there. Or you could even go with a flat one like that if you wanted to. So more like a treadle plate. And like I said, depending on where you place them, just there, depends on how easy it will go off. You might want to set that like that, so it's on top of the treadle so it don't get caught in it. Slightly closer view there. See if I can zoom in a bit. You can see the mechanism better there. So this piece is just looping under the arch, and then it's being held in place by that twig there. So I hope you could see that clear enough from that distance. Now I could make these springs. I can think of loads of ideas now. When I was getting a little bit stuck and you know, trying to think of things. But now I figured that out to make longer springs. I can definitely do loads of different traps now. Kind of like portable ones. So hopefully that makes sense to you if you want to kind of make something like that. So the bent spring, a couple of bolts, or one bolt, and a bent piece of fencing wire, and then your string or cable, and just that little bit. That little bit there could just be a piece of wood if you wanted it to, but it's just, it was easier for me to do it out of aluminium with a little hole drilled in it. Different triggers, and I think you could catch, you know, this is a similar setup to a lot of bird traps, you know, primitive bird traps, or all sorts of different traps. You could set that for birds, maybe for squirrels, things. That depends on how big you made it. But it definitely got a good potential to work, and was very easy to make, and is very easy to set as well. Right, anyway, cheers for watching, and I'll see you later.